Hi, I'm Roy Collin, the host of the podcast. You can find everything about me by scanning the QR code there or going to roycollin.com. And you'll find my six podcasts, the Podfather, helping people become podcasters, the Awakening, exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions, the Crypto, all things blockchain technology, meditation podcast, speaking podcast, and the Learn Polish podcast. You can also help the show by actually making a donation, visiting the store, or helping my sponsors. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. Welcome to the Meditation Podcast. You can find all our episodes on meditationpodcast.org. My guest from Wisconsin in the USA, sound healer, founder of Blue Dragon Healing. Please welcome Bjorn Lestrud. I know I probably butchered it, but
You're closer than most people, I promise you.
okay. So what's the proper pronunciation?
Well, Lestrud. Yeah.
Lestrud. Okay.
I've heard a lot of people, they'll say Lestrud, and I kind of like that, It almost sounds, it just sounds like a different, almost French or something. I don't know. Lestrud. But that's not all it is, so.
And I mean, just prior to recording, you said it's a Norwegian name, so it was.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I was complimenting you on your background. So those that are listening on the audio, because we're on BitChute, YouTube, and Rumble, so they can go. So it's actually beautiful, the background that you've got. So you may just explain because it's covering the whole wall. So
Yeah, I at a previous place I was in a bedroom that didn't have any windows and I felt really closed in. And so I bought this like the wall-sized hanging that made it feel like the room was bigger because it's almost like I could step onto the bridge in nature and just walk through it. It just made the room feel so much nicer.
no, brilliant. So, all right, sound healing, we know, and let's kind of hear your journey because I'd like to know a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Where to begin? I guess I could talk about my time in Tulum and some of the experiences with plant medicine and my voice opening. I took a trip. I was living around the world for about 5 years and I lived in 15 different countries. But I was struggling, I had this arthritis that had developed in my knees where if I would sit down for more than a few minutes, I'd have to straighten my legs out just to relieve the tension that would start building up. And I think I was kind of lonely, moving around from place to place and not really putting down any roots. And so when all the COVID stuff happened, I found myself in a situation where I just wanted to go somewhere that had fewer restrictions because that's the type of environment I wanted to be in. And I'd heard that Tulum in Mexico was one such place where a lot of people who wanted to move around more freely were there. So you could say the element of risk was higher, whatever. But I was willing to do that.
And just before that, like you had back pain for years. Did you have the back pain as well during this time?
Oh yeah, 15 years. I got into an accident when I was 22. Just carrying some stuff for my dad, and I fell and twisted, and I had surgery. But I had a debilitating back pain for years, like to where I couldn't even sit in a place without having to like move my upper body. The knees thing was newer. That was only like a couple of years going in, but the back pain was like 15 years. And I had also high blood pressure, like pre-hypertension, we'll say, levels. And yeah, I mean, I had to see a chiropractor pretty much at least once a week, if not more, for all those years for the most part, just to stay sane. And and so yeah, I took this trip to Tulum, and it wasn't that I had intended to do a healing journey or a meditation journey. I had just, it was on my bucket list of places to go. I had a friend down there. He's like, come on down. All right. So I was there for a little bit. My friend got into an accident, hurt his foot, and his toe got completely black and blue, like, and it turned totally black. So, you know how it is. Everyone that saw his toe would tell him, that toenail's going to fall off, right? And yeah, I know. Well, I had just seen him 2 days prior, and I see him again, and he's like, "Look at my toe." And I look at his toe, and it's perfect. The whole toenail is there. There's no discoloration, nothing. Like, how did this happen? He
I
told
think
me
every
about this.
carpenter will be interested in this one because a lot of them have their thumbs after.
He told me that he went to this like energy healing ceremony called the Light Portal, and I didn't even really know what energy healing was. Mm, hardly at all. And he invited me to go because they were doing it once a week, so he invited me to go along in the next one, and I'm like, sure, why not? And I didn't really have any expectations. It turned into be this environment where there were about 15, 20 people lined up around the room in a circle, and they were combining all these different modalities and lineages in one place. So you had first the one person led us through what they called biodynamic breath work, where you do open mouth breathing combined with these different movements, a lot of like qigong related type stuff, maybe a couple of us. I don't think there were any asanas, mainly qigong type related movements with the breathing. And then they had us all laying down on our backs around the edge of the room, and there were 4 or 5 facilitators. One facilitator was playing a drum, another one was doing some chanting. Several of them were going around the room and doing physical work on the participants, like energy healing type work, but like digging into the physical body, into the fascia. And this one woman, Ina, she's from this like long line of Muslim healers, and she's known as a seer and stuff too. And she came up to me at one point and started digging in, and I don't know what it is. She's this very tiny woman, but when she would stick her fingers in my muscles, it was excruciatingly painful. So I was just trying not to scream, and there were people screaming in the room. It was that kind of thing. People were screaming or crying, whatever. What did I get myself into? So she finally finishes on me, working on me, and then I just start laughing, and I can't stop. It's just uncontrollable laughter, like a release. It was a different kind of laughter than I'd ever experienced, though. It was like a different sense of where is this laughter coming from? Because I'm not familiar with it. It's the best way I could describe it. It was very like deep, like knowing laughter. And so I thought, well, I should explore this further. I didn't have any profound healing there, but this was, a great experience for me. So I decided to do a private session with 2 of the facilitators. And so Ina and her partner Jose came to my apartment, and they set up a space. Ina worked on me for about an hour and a half, digging into me. You can only imagine how much that hurt. And then the 3 of us had a little conversation. She would say, here's the different things I saw. I saw, these fear and anger from your father's side, and this from your mother's side. And I saw this spirit guide that was a jaguar, and this other one that was a Native American shaman. And then the next part of the experience was meet your guides, which was Jose served me a plant medicine called hape. And I'd never had hape before. I didn't even know what it was. So it's, for those who don't know, hape is, you can think of it like shamanic snuff. Most of the hape is made primarily from tobacco, from mapacho tobacco, from the Amazon, and then they add in some other elements that tend to have some psychoactive effects, the bark from a sunu tree and certain other things, and sometimes the ashes from a ceremonial fire. And then whoever the page is from the tribe making the hape, they'll do some prayers over it and certain things. I had no idea what to expect. So hape you can either take with a self-applicator, which I have one in my hand here. This is called a karipi, which you would just take and you would blow it into each nose. Or you can have a tepe where one person serves another. They do that a lot in ceremony. So you have one person putting it in their nose, the other one, blows it in. So that's what they did. He's blowing this hape in my nose, and I'm like, how did I end up here? And so it hits my nose, and immediately something starts happening to me. So he gets up, stands up behind me, starts shaking maracas in my ears. So I'm like, there's too much noise. My mind cannot logically process what's going on. And he starts making these chanting sounds. And next thing I know, I'm starting to make chanting sounds and I can't stop. And then I start feeling just this trauma and all this other stuff just rising up, and this greater force just sort of pushing through me. And then I just got sick, and I purged, and I was laying on the floor for hours, too sick to even get up and lay on the couch because I wanted the hard surface of the floor. I felt safe there. But the next morning when I woke up, all of the pain in my knees was gone from the past 2 years, and it never came back. So it's like, how do you quantify something like that? How do you classify something like that? There is no truly logical scientific way of explaining it that is understood by science even. So that just put me on a journey, from there I'm like, well, I need to go deeper into this. And I started having different medicinal experiences. I went and I did ayahuasca. I sat with 3 different indigenous tribes. 'Cause one of the nice things about Tulum is there would be leaders from the Amazon that would come there because it was known as a place that they could go to, make money, I guess, but where their people would be open and sit in ceremony and pay to experience their medicine. So I sat
What's a
with,
typical cost? Because I hear of a load of people, but I've never found out what it costs. Because I know there's some people they organize it and it's a lot more expensive. But when people are in, because I've heard of a load of people going to Tulum, what's typical kind of price?
all right, so when I was there, and that was not even that long ago, it's gotten a lot more expensive since then. I think if I bought a pack of like a few ceremonies, I think I was able to get it all the way down to 150 per ceremony, $150. That was it. Now
Because
I'm
I've
like,
heard about 3,000 people having to pay about 3,000, and I was thinking
oh,
that's
yes,
expensive.
for retreats. So I didn't go on a retreat. I would just go one ceremony at a time, and it'd be a one evening thing, and then you go home the next day. But what's become more popular recently is retreats. So someone will book like a place on an exotic location with a resort type of place, and then they'll have a few different facilitators that'll come, and then they'll charge 3, 4, 5 or more $1,000 to come there for 3, 5, 7 days, whatever. That's become a big trend, but at the time, I wasn't doing that, just doing these ceremonies one at a time, and it was very affordable for me, and I thought it was worth every penny.
And you said you've done 3 different ones. So what kind of different experiences did you have each time?
So the Hunikun, I did 3 Hunikun ceremonies. There was my first experience with the Hunikun, and there, that was really cool. Well, being it was my first ayahuasca experience, that was extra special to me as well. And since I never did ayahuasca, I was a little bit scared my first time. And I was in this place. It was sold out. There were 20 some participants in the room. It was indoors, but there was a fire outdoors that you could go out here and there to be by the fire. And so the ayahuasca arrow sits in one place in the room, kind of elevated a bit. And when he served the ayahuasca, people would come up one at a time with their cup. He would pour the ayahuasca, they'd drink it in front of them, they go back to their seats. So I had my first round, and then the Hunikun, his name was Jana Ikekuru. and his daughter was there with him as well, was doing their traditional Hunikun chants for, I don't know, first hour, 2 hours from the first round. I wasn't really feeling much different, I didn't think at the time. And then they served a second round of medicine. Well, I might as well take the second round. It was optional, of course. Took the second round. They're continuing their chants. And I started feeling a little more relaxed. Yeah, it's kind of nice. Nothing profound, but kind of nice. I think I'm going to go up by the fire. So I grabbed my little purge bucket. They gave everyone a bucket in case you had to throw up in the place and they didn't want to get it everywhere. And I didn't know. For all I knew, I could suddenly just break out and have to, heave. And so I'm like, I better take this with me. I walk outside by the fire and I see one of my teachers there, looks at me, looks at the bucket. He's like, put that down. You don't need that. Yes, sir. I put the bucket down. He goes inside. I'm standing there by myself by the fire, and I have a moment, and I start dancing. I'm dancing by the fire by myself, and then I started looking at the fire, and then the medicine just blasts all at once. My heart sort of rips open, and I'm just in this totally different state of myself that I had never experienced like that before. I had an awakening years prior, but it was different, the same, but very different. And I just felt like this fire is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. And I just laid down on the ground and gazed at the fire like it was my lover, for I don't know how long. And I started laughing. And just laying there laughing, and I hear this other laughter on the other side of the fire, and I realized that I was never alone there. There was somebody there the whole time. And so we're laughing back and forth, and then that was kind of my peak experience there. And then it turned out that person and we became really close friends, and we still are. So that was and then when we went back in, the whole dynamic changed because the Hunikun, part of their tradition is to serve hape during the ayahuasca ceremony for the integration. So they served hape, and then Jana busted out his guitar and he just started jamming, and people were dancing. And a totally different vibe rather than everyone sitting quietly, like listening. So the whole dynamic shifted inside as well, and it was very cool. The Yawanawa tribe experience, there are a lot of overlaps, but also very different because with the Hunikun, it's like if there's chanting going on or singing going on, you're sitting there and you're listening to them. Yawanawa, a lot of their songs are for people to join in. So it was more of a participatory type of thing. And the Shipibo, they're like a whole different element because, first of all, everything is done in darkness. No lights allowed. You're not supposed to really make it even sounds if you can help it. You sit quietly in the darkness. And there are no traditional songs. Everything is done through channeling. So the maestro, and they don't call themselves shamans in the Shipibo. The maestro is going around and he's singing, but he's creating on the spot as he goes, reading the energy of the room, reading the energy of each person, sometimes singing to the group, sometimes singing to individuals. And some maestros have the experience and the ability to do it that way. Some don't know aren't quite as good. This guy had been serving ayahuasca since I think he was 10 or 11 years old, and he was 40 something. So he'd been serving it for 30 years. And he said he'd held spaces for like 70 some people before, and there were only like 10 of us in that one. So he knew what he was doing. And that was my favorite way of taking ayahuasca. Sitting in the darkness, that's when I really started having visions and started connecting closer with the different elements of my own energy and having real deeper energetic experiences. And it took me further too, because I met with the maestro from the people. His name was Panshin Nima, and did a private session with him. And then he suggested I do a dieta, which is a whole nother thing. The people have this process. They enter in with different plants. They call them master plant teachers. Boben-san is one of them. Marosa, Chirik Sanango, different plants that teach you different things about yourself. And you take the plant over a period of time. You adjust your diet a certain way. You don't engage in certain behaviors, like you can't have sex and you can't do this, can't do that. He suggested I do this dieta for 2 months. So I agreed. This sounds very super interesting. I'm willing to do this. So he gave me the leaves, and I made this tea. And the first night I took the tea, I went to bed. In the middle of the night, I woke myself up singing, of all things. I was singing in my sleep. I was singing. I woke up, and I'm just, it was such a blissful awakening. And I saw Panshin days later, and I told him about the experience, and he looks at me and he's like, "That is your path." Yeah, that's a lot with ayahuasca. And then the bufo, I did an experience with that as well, which is people know of it as toad venom. That's how people, the Simpsons episode where people licking frogs, that sort of thing. So bufo you smoke, right? You take it and you smoke it, and it doesn't last very long, 15 minutes maybe. So I was
I
in
did
this.
I did that. I got it. Yeah, I came to my property and there was about 4 or 5 of us did it, and
Oh,
yeah, they came at different times, like, so that way, they had this safe space on their own.
and what was it like for you?
Two of the guys said it was the best experience of the life. For me, I just saw like a bright light, and I started remembering all my teachers. We started school in Ireland at 4, but I just started kind of able to remember. I can't really remember much from that, but that was kind of it. I didn't get what they experienced. They kind of seemed to go a lot deeper than me, but
Mm.
it wasn't a bad thing, like, so.
Yeah, I think it just depends. I think our biology also responds differently to different medicines. But for me, I took this, and they were like, so keep inhaling until it's all gone, and put your arms up straight in the air, and then they had me fall back onto this bed behind me. And so I fall back on the bed, and I immediately start feeling this sharp sensation in the middle of my forehead, like someone's digging into my head with a fingernail. Very sharp pain. And then there was just this explosion of blue light, and and this song just started coming through me, just poured through me, and I was laying there in the deepest trance possible, singing in a way that I'd never sung before, where all of a sudden my vocal range opened up, and these highs came in and these lows came in. The it astounded me as much as one could be astounded when they're in a very deep trance. Ah. And so that was a big opener for me as well. It's showed me what was possible with my voice and with sound. And so these pieces just kept adding up together into this concoction where my voice kept opening in new ways. I kept having new energetic experiences, and then when I would have these new energetic experiences, my voice it somehow would integrate with the way I would sing, and my singing would change and alter, and um, it just kind of evolved that way. And eventually, I had to go back to the States because my father was in bad health, and then that's when I started getting into with tuning forks and working and learning biofield tuning, just because I missed having a community of modalities where I could just go and experience whatever I wanted whenever. And that was one thing that I discovered I could do remotely, and it would have a super powerful effect on me. And I had worked with one of the, not Panching, but a different Shipibo maestro I did another dieta with. We had done the whole thing. I had the whole experience remotely where he would, I never even took a physical medicine. He gave me the medicine through sound, and we would meet maybe every 2-3 weeks. He would give me a new chant, and then I would listen to the chant every day, and then smoke my pacho and do some ritual afterward for grounding. And I had one of the most amazing experiences of my life. One evening, doing that dieta, where I went out for a walk and started feeling this really warm sensation, like right in the middle of my upper chest. And then it was like a flower. If there was a flower here, like a bud, it was like that opened and all at once, and the whole world around me transformed. And come on, I didn't take anything, like literally nothing, except sound, and the whole world like opened up, and all of a sudden, everything that I looked at was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And if I looked at a tree, I would fall in love with it. If I looked at the ground, I would fall in love with it. And it wasn't even just the objects, it was the space itself. Every place I looked, was like this different blend of colors would come together in the most beautiful blend I had ever seen. And it would shift and change as I shifted my gaze around. But no matter what combination it was always the most beautiful combination I'd ever seen. Else to explain that. Um, uh, and so that really like opened my eyes to the possibility of what sound can do remotely, having that experience. And so with the tuning forks, I just started learning biofield tuning, first just as a student, receiving as many different works as I could, and then eventually getting certified in it. And then eventually after that, learning that I could do a lot of what I was trying to do with the forks with my voice and do it more effectively, but then use the forks as a support mechanism at the beginning and the end. And so then I started doing sessions and eventually created a company out of it.
And
There we are.
tuning forks, like they all have different frequencies. So when you hit them, it's like that frequency then is going into the body to heal or whatever. You get the
Yeah. It's like if you think about sound, right? Sound is designed for the body because it's like making light available for the biology to experience it. Because it's like light and sound are essentially the same thing. They're just different frequency. So you bring light down to sound, and then all of a sudden the body can understand it. And so, yeah, I have a few, and interestingly enough too, I have 4 audible forks. So when I strike them, you can hear them, but I also have several weighted forks. So you wouldn't really hear it. You might hear it a little bit, but you wouldn't hear it well if I were to strike one of those right now. But I've been in sessions where they use those, and it's still very effective receiving that even when you can't hear it. If the intention is there, that is being sent, and the intention of receiving it, it's still super powerful.
I'm not sure if you've heard of the Tartarian Emperor, but apparently there was all like songs that they were using for healing for the people around, but it was all kind of destroyed and everything. And at one stage, they were kind of saying they needed all the bells for the metal for the war, and they buried them. It was all a lie. And I think that's just from just the research that I've seen, it seems to me like it was frequencies that were used in all of these cities to keep people healthy.
It makes sense.
Yeah. And maybe you probably are aware of this because I think it's 432 is the hertz that's actually healing. But with the music, they do 440. They've actually modified it. So even people listening to the music, it's been doctored like everything else. And I'm not sure have you.
You mean like the frequency from like what it used to be to like a different level of hertz, or?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah, the healing one is something like 432 or the good one, and then they've changed it to 440. So people don't even know it, but apparently you don't get the same. Hence why, like, even because we prior to recording, we were just talking about Ireland, but if you go into a lot of pubs in Ireland, there's a trad session and everything. So, I'm sure the music is probably at that level, the better level than the recordings that are put out there.
Yeah, I have one singing bowl, crystal singing bowl, and it's a 432 hertz, and they call that one the heart chakra bowl at that frequency.
And because I see some people have about 10 different bowls. So each one is for the different chakras. So different frequencies that affected. Is that the way that it works?
I mean, that's how people perceive it. I have experiences though where I may go into a sound adjustment that's supposed to be for, my throat chakra, but I may have a lot of experiences during that session in my body that are not in the throat. They might be, down in the solar plexus or my legs, or could be anywhere. So I think part of it is marketing.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot. And just going back a small bit on the purging thing, and I'm just curious because you said you didn't need the bucket or whatever, but I'm the type I've never done ayahuasca. I know a load of people have done it. I know some people have done it 10 times or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm the type of person, if I hear someone purging, let's say the sound of the purging or the smell of the purge would actually make me want to. So
Yeah.
like when you're in a room and you've got half them purging, is it like, or is the sound, so the music or the chanting that they're doing, that you don't even hear that? Or are you conscious of everybody that's kind of filling their bucket, let's say?
Well, for one, I noticed that everyone was different a little bit, and how they perceived that. For myself, it didn't really bother me. I guess the medicine sort of brought me into a deeper place to where what was going on in the environment was less important to me on some level, because there was a sense of stillness that was there even when I wasn't really even feeling the medicine much. I was still connecting with that. It's just that I had a lot of dense energy I needed to move out of my system to really connect more with it. But yeah, honestly, a good purge, nothing better.
And I hear of people getting a bad trip then. Is that something that, did it ever happen to you, or have you seen people experience something that it kind of went against them? That's hence why it's good to have somebody that knows what they're doing to be in the right environment, because sometimes there's people, they think they know what they're doing, they get the product and they do it to people, but they really haven't got a clue what they're doing. They're just taking the money. And so have you witnessed in the groups that you've been in where somebody had a bad experience?
I wouldn't go so far as to say a bad experience. There was a woman that I was staying with once where she was crying the next morning because she felt like the chanting of the maestro had overwhelmed her, because it just kept going and going. But that was more about the sound than it was the medicine. I saw some people go through like getting sort of possessed and then having to have someone help them through it. And I was never in a situation where there was any kind of horrible repercussion. I've done about 20 ceremonies, give or take. There's never anything like that, but I've seen many things on Reddit about it. People having psychotic breaks, and apparently there's a biological thing that if someone has a certain mental illness that runs in the family, they may be susceptible to some pretty gnarly stuff if they do psychedelics or ayahuasca. So I never recommend to anybody you go do ayahuasca. I don't tell them not to usually, but I'm never probably ever gonna tell someone you should do ayahuasca. I just keep myself out of that altogether.
Yeah. So your company, Blue Dragon Healing. So the name is what's connected with dragons, because we hear of like the zodiac symbols, the Chinese zodiac symbols, and we hear loads of there was dragons, then all of a sudden there was no such thing as dragons, and so Why dragon and why a blue dragon?
So the first time I started having visions in ayahuasca ceremony, I saw dragons. They started coming to me, and I started learning that a lot of the guidance, the energies that work through me to guide me, are dragon energies, and in particular, so the way I experience my guides, you call them spirit guides, whatever. And some people, if they have a religious point of view, then they just think of everything as the Holy Spirit, whatever, how you perceive it. How I experience that guidance is the primary guide of all of it is a blue dragon. And I've met this dragon. It appeared to me face to face. I was looking at it. And keep in mind, Tulum's in the middle of the jungle, right? Mosquitoes everywhere. When I met the blue dragon face to face, I saw it blow some kind of smoke at me. And from that point on, and I lived in Tulum for another year, I may have gotten 2 mosquito bites. And they were both just like in my ankles. And the mosquitoes almost entirely left me alone from that point on. It's the strangest thing. I can't explain it.
They probably don't like the plant medicine that's inside your body, I suppose.
I don't know. I don't know. But I can say that I experience, my guidance as a blue dragon, and through that, there are other energies that aren't dragon energies coming through, but that is like the starting point. So for me, I see blue dragon healing as a space that goes beyond my personal self, and so the blue dragon to me is representative of something that's a part of me, but bigger than my own ego, my own personality. And it's a space to help other people shine rather than Bjorn shine. So I try and remove myself as much as I can uh, from that equation while still being there.
Just finally, you might like with that. What exactly are you helping people with? Is it just do they have to meet you in person, or do you do stuff online? You might just the services that you're offering.
Most of the work I do is online, and it seems to work every bit as good online as it does in person. Sometimes maybe even better. You want to say what is the essence of what is the work doing? It's I use sound in a certain way, channeling through chanting and using tuning forks as support and other things, a sense of biofield tuning and working with the chakras and everything to bring forward a person's primal, authentic expression to help them release that out. So essentially working with the throat chakra, opening the throat chakra, which can be in a literal sense, like someone is singing, but their primary expression might not be singing. It could be something completely different. It might not even be through their voice, but it's opening their expression and helping them to shine their light more brightly. And so for a lot of people, that means in the early stages, clearing up communication blocks, learning how to be less reactive when someone says something that would normally trigger them, to just starting to develop more awareness of their true self when they go through different situations, to be more present and just be more available and more spacious. And so that kind of, it depends on the person, right, where they're in their journey, but that's what happens in the beginning for a lot of people when they experience the work. Sometimes people even have dreams where they're confronting the people that they perceive as hurt them in the past and go through these things. So I've been told that my work can be almost a gentler form of psychedelics, kind of. A number of people have told me that. So I do, live events on Inside Timer that are free, usually once a week at least. But I also do private work where we can go deeper, and all that runs through my site.
And I know you've agreed to give me a meditation that I can put on out after this episode, which is fantastic. So people will get to, experience it. So listen, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I love the way you went into total detail because most people don't do that, so I felt like I was there with you the way that you were able to, it was fantastic. So you might let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, everything runs through my website, www.bluedragonhealing.net. And there's a newsletter, some free downloads, and I have a podcast that I'm in process of rebooting that's on there as well. And yeah, bluedragonhealing.net.
Okay, perfect. I'll make sure I put the link button, the audio, and the video. Thank you very much, Bjorn.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So that's all for the meditation podcast. You'll find all our episodes on meditationpodcast.org. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, share with your friends, and comment on what we discussed. We'd love to read your comments. Until next week, take care.
So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. As mentioned at the start, you can find my 6 podcasts on roycullen.com or scan the QR code if you're looking to start a podcast or do a podcasting tour, help with that. Also, if you're looking for a virtual assistant, we also have that service. And you can help the show by visiting the store, supporting our sponsors, or making a donation. Until next week, take care.